بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيد المرسلين وخاتم النبيين محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين أما بعد. Respected listeners, today we completed a few surahs. We completed the remaining part of Surah Al-Kahf, which is a Meccan surah which we started yesterday. Then this was followed by Surah Maryam, then by Surah Taha, and then a portion of Surah Al-Anbiya. All of these surahs are of the Meccan period. As I was mentioning yesterday, Surah Al-Kahf contains a number of topics. It also contains 4 major stories. 2 of them I explained yesterday, the remaining 2 I will explain briefly today. The first of the 2, the third story of Surah Al-Kahf is that of Sayyidina Musa and Sayyidina Khidr, alayhim salatu wassalam, and the 4th story is of Dhul Qarnayn. We don't have time to mention both of them, but as I mentioned the story of Sayyidina Musa alayhi salam in the Urdu speech, I'll briefly mention it here. Sayyidina Musa alayhi salatu wassalam once, in answer to a question, said that I am the most knowledgeable person upon the earth, and there is no one more knowledgeable than me in my people. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and he was not wrong in saying that. This wasn't said in an arrogant way, because truly the Prophet of Allah alayhi salatu wasalam in his people is the most knowledgeable. But because of his position and his status with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it wasn't befitting him, and it would have been better for him to ascribe all knowledge to Allah. So Allah Azza wa Jal not reprimanded him, but Allah Azza wa Jal corrected him in a very subtle manner about this, and informed him that no, Musa, there is someone who is more knowledgeable than you. And Sayyidina Musa alayhi salam then prayed to Allah that, oh Allah, show me who this person is and lead me to him, and how can I find him. Allah Azza wa Jal told him to travel and to take a cooked fish in a basket with him, and when this fish miraculously disappears, then wherever this fish miraculously disappears, that is a meeting place with that servant of Allah. Sayyidina Musa alayhi salam travelled with his deputy Yusha ibn Nun, who was later destined to become a prophet in his own right. Both of them travelled, and Yusha ibn Nun alayhi salatu wasalam was carrying the basket with the fish cooked and ready as their food and provision for the journey. Whilst they were travelling, they rested at a certain spot. Sayyidina Musa alayhi salam rested against a boulder and went to sleep. Yusha ibn Nun remained awake. Whilst Sayyidina Musa alayhi salam was asleep, the basket, the fish from the basket miraculously came to life. The fish in the basket jumped out of the basket, made its way to the edge of the water, and then miraculously in the water a tunnel opened up, and the fish, which was cooked and ready and dry, it disappeared in this tunnel without even becoming wet and into the sea. Yusha ibn Nun alayhi salatu wasalam was amazed, and he vowed to himself that as soon as Sayyidina Musa alayhi salatu wasalam awakes, I will tell him about this. But when Sayyidina Musa alayhi salatu wasalam awoke, Yusha ibn Nun forgot, and they resumed their journey. Later on, Sayyidina Musa alayhi salatu wasalam, after having travelled a great distance, he said, where is the food? We are hungry and tired. So then Yusha ibn Nun remembered about the fish. So he said, oh, the fish actually disappeared, and he related the story. Musa alayhi salam said, why didn't you tell me at that time? Because that was a meeting place. He pleaded that shaitan caused me to forget. So they returned. They retraced their steps and went back to that spot. When they arrived there was a servant of Allah, Khidr alayhi salam, seated leaning against a boulder. Sayyidina Musa alayhi salam said salam to him, and then told him that I wish to remain in your company in order to learn from you. Sayyidina Khidr alayhi salam told him that you will never be able to remain patient with me. Sayyidina Musa alayhi salam promised that he would remain patient. This exchange continued between the two. Sayyidina Musa requesting to be in his company in order to be able to learn from him. Sayyidina Khidr insisting that he would never be able to remain patient. Finally, when Sayyidina Musa alayhi salam gave his word that inshaAllah, in the name of Allah, I will remain patient, Sayyidina Khidr accepted on the condition that Sayyidina Musa alayhi salam was not to utter a single word, nor was he to ask any questions until Khidr alayhi salam personally spoke to him first. Sayyidina Musa alayhi salam accepted the condition and they travelled. They were at the edge of they were on the shore, and in order to cross the waters they needed to travel on a ship or a boat. A ship came along. The ship belonged to a few fishermen who were poor but very generous and genuine people. They took Sayyidina Khidr, Sayyidina Musa and Yusha ibn Nun on board without asking for any fare. So as they were travelling, Sayyidina Khidr alayhi salatu wasalam and Sayyidina Musa alayhi salatu wasalam saw a bird which pecked once in the water and drank probably 1 or 2 drops and then flew off. Sayyidina Khidr alayhi salatu wasalam said to Sayyidina Musa alayhi salatu wasalam that, did you see that bird and how it pecked in the ocean and drank 1 or 2 drops and then flew off? Sayyidina Musa alayhi salatu wasalam said yes. Sayyidina Khidr alayhi salatu wasalam said, listen, Allah Azza wa Jal has given me some knowledge which He has not given you. And Allah Azza wa Jal has blessed you with certain knowledge which He has not bestowed upon me. Yet, my knowledge and your knowledge combined, O Musa, is not equivalent in comparison to the knowledge of Allah to this 1 or 2 drops of water in comparison to the entire ocean. Then, just before they were about to disembark, Sayyidina Khidr alayhi salatu wasalam began ripping up some of the planks of the boat. So Sayyidina Musa alayhi salatu wasalam was beside himself with anger. He said, what are you doing? These people showed us a favour. Is this how you repay their favour? Sayyidina Khidr alayhi salatu wasalam said to him that, I told you you won't be able to remain patient. Do not ask. Sayyidina Musa alayhi salatu wasalam said, forgive me, I forgot. And do not make things difficult for me. Give me a chance. They travelled. Once they disembarked, they travelled. Sayyidina Khidr alayhi salatu wasalam saw a young lad playing with some of the children. He grabbed him and he killed him. Before he was just ripping the planks. Now Sayyidina Musa alayhi salatu wasalam could not tolerate this. And he spoke up and said, you have just killed an innocent soul, and even then a child. Sayyidina Khidr alayhi salatu wasalam said, I told you you would not be able to remain patient with me. Sayyidina Musa alayhi salatu wasalam said, again, forgive me. And I realize that I have pushed you to the limits of your tolerance. So from now on, if I ever ask you again, then you are under an obligation to keep me in your company. You don't remain with me. Sayyidina, they both walked on. They came to a village. And in this village, they went from door to door asking for food. Well, they, being visitors and travellers, first of all, nobody entertained them or nobody offered any food and drink to them. So then they actually asked for some food and drink. And lo and behold, the entire village was so inconsiderate that no one fed them or entertained them or showed any hospitality towards them. So both of them were, this group of 3 was leaving the village, and on the edge of the village there was a certain wall which had become quite weak and it was about to collapse. So Sayyidina Khidr alayhi salatu wasalam, without anyone requesting or saying anything, he began fixing the wall and repairing it, and he caused it to stand upright again. Sayyidina Musa alayhi salatu wasalam said, this is it. The people of the boat, they took us on for free and you damaged their ship. The village, no one feeds us and you repair a wall for them for free. So Sayyidina Khidr alayhi salatu wasalam said, listen, this is now where we part. This is where we part. You go your way, I go my way. You haven't been able to fulfill the condition of remaining silent until I speak to you first. And you cannot remain patient with me. But before you go, I will inform you and let you know the secrets of those incidents. As for the ship, ahead of them, there was a certain pirate whose habit it was, and whose profession it was, in his piracy to attack ships, kill the sailors and the fishermen, and to loot the ship, and then to damage and scuttle the ship. But he would only go for those ships that attracted him and about which he felt that he could gain something from them. So I damaged the ship enough for the ship to be unattractive to him, but not enough to damage the ship seriously. So this was how I repaid the favor. I actually saved them from piracy, and I actually saved their lives and their goods and their possessions, because I knew from Allah Azza wa Jal that this was going to happen. As for the child, his parents were old and they were both very pious. But the child was evil, and he was destined to grow up to be evil. And in his evil, he would have driven the pious parents to transgression and to disbelief also. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wished to remove this child and replace him with a child who was humble, and with a child who was more considerate, humble and faithful towards his parents. So we removed that child. And this was done on behalf of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala upon his instruction. As for the village, I didn't repair the wall in order to show any kindness to them. But what it was is that in that village there were 2 orphans. Their father was a very pious man, and he died whilst they were still very young, and he left some treasure for them. Now the people of the village were evil and greedy. That treasure was hidden beneath that wall. Now had the wall was about to collapse. Had the wall collapsed, the people of the village would have come to discover the treasure, and they would have looted it, depriving these 2 young orphans of this pious man from their rightful inheritance and treasure. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wished for them orphans to discover the treasure for themselves. And in order to allow more time for that, I repaired the wall so that the wall would stand until that given time. And then he said that all of these things I did not do of my own accord, but this was upon Allah's command and instruction. In a hadeeth, it's mentioned that when the Prophet ﷺ related the story of Sayyidina Musa and Sayyidina Khidr alayhi wassalam, he said that may Allah have mercy on Musa alayhi wassalam. Had he remained patient, we would have learnt much more. There are many lessons to be drawn from this. I don't have time now, but I once did the tafsir of Surah Al-Kahf in some detail, and that recording is available. So those of you who want to listen to the tafsir of Surah Al-Kahf in detail about all 4 major stories, including the 4th story of Dhul Qarnayn and the story of Sayyidina Musa and Sayyidina Khidr alayhi wassalam, you may obtain that. I also, during the lessons of At-Tajweed Sarih, summarized Bukhari earlier this year, when we came across this hadith in all its length in Bukhari, I commented on it then in detail. So you may also obtain that recording. After that we read Surah Maryam. This is a Meccan surah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mainly speaks about the Prophets alayhi salatu wassalam, including Sayyidina Zakaria, Sayyidina Yahya, Sayyidina Maryam, Sayyidina Isa, Sayyidina Ibrahim, Sayyidina Musa, Sayyidina Ismail, Sayyidina Idris, Sayyidina Yaqub, Sayyidina Nuh, Sayyidina these prophets alayhi salatu wassalam, Allah mentions them by name. Main story obviously is that of Sayyidina Maryam, and in this surah Allah Azza wa Jalla explains in detail how she was visited by the angel. She conceived when he blew into her a spirit from Allah. She said, how can I have a child when no man has touched me? She then conceived, and after conceiving she distanced herself from the people. When in labour pain, she was given comfort by the angels and food and drink from Allah, and in that pain she exclaimed, Ya laytani mittu qabla hadha wa kuntu nasiyan mansiya. Would that I had died before this, and would that I had been a forgotten thing. Why? Because she feared the shame and embarrassment and the scandal in producing a child without being married. So Allah Azza wa Jalla instructed her that if you meet anyone today, then just say to them that I have vowed a fast for Allah, and in observance of this fast I will not speak to any man today. She brought the child before her people. They immediately exclaimed that, O Maryam, verily you have brought forth a great lie, a great scandal. O daughter of Harun, your father was not one of the family of Harun, they just called her, they said, your father, meaning you are from the line of the prophets, alayhim salatu wasalam, and your own father was not an evil man, nor was your mother, ma'adallah, a harlot or a prostitute, nor was she an adulteress. She remained silent and merely pointed to Isa alayhi salatu wasalam, who was still in her lap. They said, how can we speak to a child who is in the cradle? Well, in the cradle, sorry. Sayyidina Isa alayhi salatu wasalam spoke up miraculously. And the things which he said on that occasion are as follows. He said, I am the servant of Allah. Allah has given me the book and made me a messenger. And He has made me blessed wherever I may be. And He has instructed me to pray and to spend in His way as long as I remain alive, as long as I live. And He has instructed me to be kind and faithful to my mother. And He has not made me arrogant and evil. And peace be upon me on the day I was born, on the day I shall die, on the day I shall be resurrected alive. This, Allah says, this is Isa the son of Maryam, the word of truth in which these people doubt and in which these people differ. Meaning, the Jews used to say, and many of them still say, that Maryam alayhi salatu wasalam committed adultery, she was an adulteress, and Sayyidina Isa alayhi salatu wasalam was an illegitimate child. And on the other hand, we have the Nasara continue to say that far from being an illegitimate child, he is the son of God, and God Himself, and one of the Trinity, and Maryam alayhi salatu wasalam is the mother of God, etc., etc. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, this is the truth about Isa alayhi salatu wasalam. And a point of interest here is that often we are reminded by Christian evangelists and missionaries that they do not hail Sayyidina Isa alayhi salatu wasalam as the son of God and God Himself and one of the Trinity of their own accord. They say we do this on the instruction of Jesus Himself, for He called Himself the Son of God, and He Himself hinted that He was one of the Trinity, and He was part of the Holy Trinity Himself. And then they quote various verses from the New Testament and from the four Gospels. However, look at this. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala quotes the speech of Sayyidina Isa alayhi salatu wasalam as soon as he was born. And even before he speaks about his prophethood and his being blessed and his being given a book and his duty to his mother and his good character and good nature, the first words which he uttered when he entered this dunya and when he first spoke miraculously were, Inni Abdullah, I am Allah's servant. Far from being a son of God or God Himself, I am Allah's servant. Towards the end of the surah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala speaks about the evil of ascribing a son to Allah in relation to the story of Isa alayhi salatu wasalam. Allah says, and they have said that Rahman has taken a son for Himself. Verily you have brought forth a great enormity. The heavens are about to split asunder, and the earth is about to split open, and the mountains are about to fall flat, because they have ascribed a son to Allah, Rahman. And it is not befitting Rahman that He takes a son for Himself. Verily, all who are in the heavens and the earth, there is no one in the heavens and the earth except that they will come to Allah as a servant. Allah has enumerated them, and Allah has counted each and every one of them. And every one of them will appear before Allah on the day of judgment as an individual alone. Subhanallah. We then read Surah Taha. Surah Taha, again, is a Meccan surah. It mainly deals with the beautiful narrative of Sayyidina Musa alayhi salatu wasalam and his encounter with Fir'aun and his sorcerers, and Sayyidina Harun alayhi salatu wasalam's story and the deliverance of Banu Israel from the clutches of Fir'aun and from the captivity of Egypt, and how they made a golden calf and treated it as a god and worshipped it in the absence of Sayyidina Musa alayhi salatu wasalam, and they overwhelmed and overcame Sayyidina Harun alayhi salatu wasalam. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala relates that entire story. Then there is some mention of the story of the creation of Sayyidina Adam, Shaitan's refusal to prostrate before him, his banishment from Jannah, his leading Sayyidina Adam and Ummuna Hawa alayhi salatu wasalam into error, and their eventual banishment from Jannah as well. We then read Surah Anbiya, Surah Al-Anbiya again is a Meccan surah, and we only read the beginning part of it. Because it's a Meccan surah, the topics are those of the common Meccan surahs, i.e. in the beginning Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala speaks about the reality of the Qur'an and the objections of the mushrikeen, their claims that these are just wild dreams and this is an invention, fabrication on the part of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and that he is simply a poet. Then Allah Azza wa Jal reminds them of the fate of many nations and civilizations, cities and towns before, to whom prophets were sent, but they rejected the message, and despite their greatness and their might and their history, Allah Azza wa Jal destroyed them. And that the same fate will befall the people of Mecca if they continue to oppose Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Then Allah Azza wa Jal speaks about some signs in His creation, and then the reality of Tawheed and Shirk, and their comparison, the comparison of Tawheed and Shirk, and Haqq and Batil, truth and falsehood. Again, Allah Azza wa Jal speaks about people ascribing a son to Allah, and then Allah speaks about the beauty of His creation, signs in His creation, the mountains, paths along in the desert, in the mountains, ravines, the heavens as a canopy, how Allah has created night and day, the sun and the moon, and how everything is in its own orbit. Allah speaks about the reality of death, that even Allah says, we have never given eternal life to anyone before you. So what, will you die and these people will remain and live on? Every soul shall taste death. Allah speaks about the reality of man, that man has been created in haste. Man has been created, not that he was created in haste by Allah, the man has been created with a temperament of haste, with a tendency to be hasty. And we should all be very careful. In the hadith, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam says, Al-anatu min Allah wal-ajalatu min ash-shaytan, that patience, forbearance, and doing something deliberately and slowly, this comes from Allah, and hastiness comes from shaytan. Then Allah speaks about generally the prophets of yore, and Allah then speaks about the day of judgment, and how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will establish the scales of justice on the day of reckoning, and no soul shall suffer any injustice. Even if there is anything to the measure of a mustard seed, Allah says we shall produce it, and we are sufficient as ones to take account. And then Allah speaks about some of the former prophets, Sayyidina Musa and Sayyidina Harun. And with this we end today's portion of Surah Al-Anbiya. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us the tawfiq to understand. Wa sallallahu wa sallam ala abdihi wa rasulina nabiyyina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in.
This lecture was given by Shaykh Abu Yusuf Riyadh al-Haq and has been presented to you by Al-Kawthar Productions. For further information, additional lectures and books, contact us on 0121 773 5191 or alternatively by post at Al-Kawthar Productions, P.O. Box 6008, Birmingham, B10 0UW, United Kingdom, or visit our website at www.alkawtharacademy.org. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.